Now who wanna move crossing on? Now who wanna move out on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em, finger ball 'em, never stop it. To the beast of feasting on 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite.
Welcome to Bengals and Brews. I'm trying this new thing today, and Greg's loving it. Look, he's positive BSG. I'm positive Dale.
Positive Dale. Let's keep positive Dale going. Let's rise. Positive Dale. Keep rising. Rise.
It probably won't last long, but hey, let's do it.
No. Hold on to that, man. Don't you let it sink.
We just needed something, right? We needed something here before free agency, and we got it. We got it with Mike Gesicki, 3 years, $25.5 million, like 12 years up front, which tells you that year 3 is probably a year that they could get out if he declines over the, after a couple of seasons. And that's always smart to do, right? I mean, if he's playing well, you feel comfortable paying him in that third year, and that's fine. So I got no issue with because we were thinking 2 years, but honestly, that makes sense. It makes the player feel good. They got the third. It makes the numbers look good overall. But then you also probably have an out if you need it in that year 3.
Well, Dale, this is around what we expected. I think we expected $8 to $9 million a year. This is exactly what we expect. And Diana Rusi, Malik Wright, they were all saying he had plenty. If he would have hit the open market, he would have been gone. He had plenty of suitors going into free agency, and as he should.
It doesn't stand for bullshit, Greg. It stands for Big Savage, Greg.
Big Savage, Greg.
I mean, look at this guy. We're all about to make a trip to the dungeon. This is the mood right now. This is the mood.
I'm slurping, man.
Down there in Greg's sex dungeon, we're all going to take a trip and just go to town on each other. Well, that was.
Me and Joe. I need an orange jersey. I have an orange Hubbard jersey. And when our bro, Houday Joe, posted that, dude, I got to get me an orange Hubbard. And yes, Jared, you was questioning me. I do. I don't have to choose. I already have a Yoshi jersey. I love me some Slurpee.
I have the Hendrickson jersey on today. That is and I'm still going to be positive, but we're going to talk about it because Malik Wright came out and said that $32 million offer is not a real thing. And he said that the Bengals offered Trey Hendrickson $23 million. That is insulting, honestly, for the level of play he's had in back-to-back seasons, 17.5 sacks. With that said, to remain positive, there is a world still, and listen to N. Rappaport. You shared that with me earlier. He was on the NFL Insiders or whatever, and they were talking about, the Bengals told him, go out there, and if he can get a first-round pick, and still sounded like it's a possibility he comes back. So it could be something where maybe his market isn't what he's want. I don't know what he's wanting, but I do think the Bengals still need to come up to 28, 30 million. And it may he turned down 30. You're kind of like, what the heck? But if he was offered 23, that's guys, I'm not doing that,
Well, I'll give the Bengals credit. When they make trades, they don't just give players away. I mean, they're not just going to say, hey, we'll send her for a third-round pick. Kudos. I'll give them some type of kudos to this. Maybe it's just me being positive right now. I don't know why. But, we're not just giving Trey away. We're not going to give him away. Say if the Commanders say, hey, we'll give Trey $33 million, whatever, a bunch of it guaranteed. Okay, that's fine. But we want the 29th pick of the draft. And they're like, hell no, we're not doing that. Well, sorry about your luck.
You're right, Anton. The witty, white gritty is back. You're right. And Holmes is just messing with you, Greg. Trying to get our slurping on, man. Gesicki slurpers. Now, obviously, Houday Joe and Greg are the biggest Gesicki slurpers. I can't compete with that level of slurping these guys do for this man. But I'm feeling it,
Well, I did make a statement a couple of years ago, Dale. Remember we lost it. We didn't get him. He signed with the Pats, and I was in a bad mood. And I said if we signed him, I would jump in the river or something. Maybe I got to redig that up and do something, man. Because, dude, I'm excited. Because, Dale, we were all just going nuts. I told you, man. I was depressed last night.
Yesterday was getting bad. The vibes were bad. It was getting to me. That's why I was like, I'm going to try to be positive today. And then, boom, that signing happens. Right. I'm like, do I have to remain positive?
Yes, you have to remain positive because it's working. That's what we found out. And let's talk about the airline thing. Nowadays, you can track where everybody's going on the airline, and they all let you speak on this because I'm too excited right now.
Yeah, so Bobby Walker here from X, shout out for tuning in. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Naughty's Industries, Darth, everybody that's in here. Stranger, you guys are always awesome. Anton, Hude 88, my guy Jerome, all kinds of Dustin Croft in here. But yeah, Bobby says we need a T signing today because our fan base is well, it's a lot going on, right? We need some positive news. So yeah, so the whole flight thing, we don't know if that means anything or not, but people are just trying to connect the tea leaves here. Yeah, that was very corny. I'll see myself out. No, right. I'm back. Okay. But yeah, if he's flying in from Miami and, we're just going to remain positive. We're going to just be irrational today, and we're going to say it's because he's coming in and they got a long-term extension worked out and he's getting ready to sign that bad boy. Why not, right? Why not be and think it's going to happen? Get him locked in. The Chase deal will happen. It might be a little later. I just hope it's before training camp so we don't deal with it like that.
What would you do if T and Jamar both signed at the same time? There was a double press conference.
That'd be a hell of a way to kick off free agency, right? Gesicki in there. You got all these guys in the building. Just have a big-ass press conference with your offense. You might as well have Burrow there just smiling from ear to ear. And then, you hope you figure out with Trey. And if he is, and I love Trey. Listen, love him. One of my favorite players. He is awesome. I want him on this team, first and foremost. But if you're not going to have him on this team and you can get a Washington who has pick 29 to give you that pick, I mean, there's still a world where you really improve your team for the long term. Now, you're not going to get a guy that just replaces Trey Henderson. He's not replaced. He's too good. He's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, period, point blank. But, if you could use your 2 first-round picks, like I just tossed out, we're being irrationally positive here, Greg.
Hey,
and listen, guys, I was down in the dumps Monday. You're all trying to tell me, come on, snap. So I'm trying here to do something a little different today. So just walk with me on this one for a minute.
Hey, I love this.
If we're going to lose Trey and we get that pick 29, right?
Right.
Okay, we pivot and use some of that money and go get Milton Williams. Screw it. We're getting that pass rushing guy. And you can say, okay, but he plays with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and these guys. All right, let's go get him a big guy to play with here. Let's go draft Kenneth Grant at 17, who has incredible athleticism for his size at 340. And you just hope that you can get some of that Jalen Carter because Jalen Carter's a dog. So maybe he's not that right away. But let's just say you get it out of him because we got a new D-line coach. We got a new defensive coordinator. We don't have the same staff. Maybe they can develop these guys better than the past staff did. So we get him at 17. Now, I know that at 29 now with this trade pick, you're thinking, man, we need an edge. You took a D tackle. What are we doing? You got Milton Williams. Okay, I'm pairing those two together, Kenneth Grant and Milton Williams. I like the combination. Now at 29, there's some concerns about James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. Oh, some character stuff, uncoachable. I don't know with all that. The Bengals will have to vet that. But that's the reason a guy with that much talent might fall to 29. And I know some people might say, I don't want to touch that. Listen, we don't know the full details on James Pierce. Let's just trust the Bengals that if they'll probably have him in for a top 30 visit. I can't imagine they won't.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I want to get to know this guy as much as possible. And they already met with him at the combine. So they're going to get around him and get their vibes from him. But let's say you get him, and this is a guy that could turn out to be a 10-plus sack type of guy every year. So now we've added those two talents. The second round's pretty open. You could still get a guard. Maybe we've already signed a Kevin Zeitler. Maybe we swing big too with some of the money we got out there, and we go get Tevin Jenkins at guard too. And we're just like, all right, man, we're doing this. We're going for the Super Bowl. It's happening. So let's just be a little unrealistically positive and say that all those things could still happen. Now, if Trey's here, we've got Trey and he's great, and we can still get a piece and add some more pieces. Maybe they're not the big Milton Williams type in free agency, but you still got your draft. You still got some lower tier guys you could bring in. So there is a path to the Super Bowl, and the biggest reason why there's going to be a path to the Super Bowl, you got Joe fucking Burrow as your quarterback, guys. When you got Joey B, you always got a chance. So walk with me, baby, because we are competing. We are back. We are the Cincinnati fucking Bengals. Let's go, Greg.
Let's go. Let's go. And you know what? To point out Milton Williams, remember we signed another guy a couple years ago, Dale, where we were all like, and I myself was guilty of this. Oh, well, Trey Hendrickson had other good players around him. I don't know about this and all that. Didn't seem to matter. And like you say, let's throw in Chase Young along with there. Like you say, you go DT, then you can go DE if we get that. If we get the pick, well, we don't know yet. But I'm just saying that would still get me fired up. But if we stick with Trey, more power to you then. Let's do it.
And listen, we were on here after the show, just hanging out. You just walked away, but I was still sitting here. And Pork Chop gets a FaceTime from his niece and his sister-in-law, or his sister. I think it's his sister, actually.
Yeah.
His sister and his niece. Sorry, Chop. So his sister and his niece, and they're at the event where Trey Hendrickson was. And then, boom, they just hand the phone over to Trey Hendrickson. Pork Chop's talking to Trey Hendrickson yesterday after the show. So maybe Trey Hendrickson talks to Pork Chop and he says, you know what? I can't leave a guy like that. Look at that handsome son bitch.
Absolutely. He's already Orlando Brown's best friend. Orlando Brown loves him. Let's keep it going.
That's what I'm saying, man. Let's go. And your niece, Brooklyn. So shout out Brooklyn, and that girl's been through a lot. Not my place to say, but she's been through a lot in her life. So shout out for her and getting to do that, and shout out for Pork Chop, and shout out for them doing that, setting that up. And like, it's just so weird because I'm like, I thought he was screwing with me. I'm like, is he doing a bit here where he's talking to, and it's like, he's really just talking to Trey? It was so random and hilarious.
That's why I got up. I'm like, like he's really talking to, because we were joking about talking about Trey Hendrickson. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. I get up. I'm like, wait, what? That was really Trey Hendrickson. I'm like, holy crap! Congrats. That was so happy for Chop to talk to him.
And Dustin says PFF pass rush win rate, which is always so tough to say. It's like a tongue twister. Drops 8% when an edge rusher turns 30. That is cumulative stats from last 10 years. Do with that what you may. So me and Dustin was having a conversation on X yesterday, and see, he's very like, all right, I can see why the Bengals would trade Trey. And I love Trey, and it's one of those things. If that's the route they go, you hope they get really good value. And I'm still be rooting for Trey wherever he goes, just not if they're playing us, especially in the playoffs. But yeah, man, I'm excited, and I'm trying to remain optimistic and excited, and hope that things work out, man, because I could sit here and be negative all the fucking time, but you know what? That fucks with my mental health, honestly. It's a game, man. We don't control it at the end of the day, but I love this team, right? So I am passionate, and I will have ups and downs with this team. But you know what? I'm going to try to be a little positive and just see what can happen. Give them a little grace, even though it's hard with the history. Give them a little grace that they've got a lot of money. They got a lot of things they can do. And you got Joe fucking Burrow once again. So I'm excited. And you're damn right, Kevin. I'm preaching. I'm getting hyped. Greg's excited. Let's see that motherfucking pot, Greg Luther. Let's go.
This is called the Slurp Bot. We're doing the Slurpy Bot. We're doing the Slurpy Bot. The Slurpy Bot.
Hit that white boy gritty. Hit a gritty, Greg.
The Slurpy Gritty. The Slurpy Gritty.
You got a gritty in you? You got a gritty in you too?
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. We'll call it the Slurpy Gritty Bot. Gritty. The Slurpy Gritty Bot.
It's malfunctioning.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Hey, I will even tell you, I was on the phone with Dale maybe 2 a.m. last night. I was upset. I was down the dumps.
Yeah, it was a way you don't normally see Greg, because Greg tries to always be positive, and sometimes I'm so damn negative. Greg just sits here, and you can see the depression in his face because he's like, damn it, I can't do this.
Yeah, I can't do this. There's times I had to get up and leave. Like, guys, I got to get up and leave. But no, this is what happens. I was brought back up. I'm up from the risen. I have risen, Dale.
I mean, I think there was something that risen in your pants when that Gesicki news hit, and we're just, we're deciding to, maybe it's not what is happening, but fuck it, we're all in. We're just buying all in. T is on his way here to sign a contract. That is no sources. We really don't know, but you know what I'm saying? We're just going to pretend that this is what's happening. And we're doing this shit.
You know what he should do after signing that contract? Head over to Midwest Best Barbecue. Get yourself some. Hey, they have tea there. They do have sweet tea. Get some sweet tea along with the Uno wings. That's a hell of a combination. Maybe you can bring a Chop Chop mug over, another proud sponsor. Pour that tea in the Chop Chop mug and drink it like this. Woo!
Let's go. So Dustin says, what the media isn't getting on the Chiefs for trading maybe their best O-lineman. And he had to kick out to left. But I do think it was a fourth rounder. But still, Joe Tootie for a fourth rounder? Come on, man. That's
last year. And they traded that corner last year for a fourth rounder. What was his name to the Titans? You know who I'm talking about.
The corner that they originally franchise tagged. Yeah. And then he didn't have a good season. But, yeah, I'm blanking on the name. I'm sure somebody in the chat
it's the point. Yeah. It's because I just look at that like that's not worth it. I applaud the Bengals, at least with Trey, saying we're not just going to give you for a fourth. When I first saw third round pick, I'd be like, hell no, I wouldn't even mess with that.
Yeah. And, Bobby, I agree, man. When you got Joe Burrow, the face of your franchise, we talked about not using the term generational, but a very good talent, a guy that don't come along all the time, leader of your franchise and talent at that position. And he's out there saying he wants these guys back. They've got the money. He's put pressure on them. And they would honestly be stupid to want to piss that guy off because we don't want a Carson Palmer 2.0. I don't think this fan base could handle that, losing Burrow, knowing the guy, an Ohio guy, and they just don't do the things to even try to build this winner and try to make the push for the Super Bowl. It's hard to win a Super Bowl. Everyone knows that, but you got to try, right? So if they're trying and they're doing these things and they're keeping Joe happy, we're going to be all in as fans and invested with you. You just got to show us, right? Show us.
And back to this Gesicki contract, it's not like it's going to need a lot. Santori, who is really good with money and all that, and knows all the cap stuff. 3% of the cap. That's all it took up was 3% of the cap.
Yeah, because the percentage is very important. Like we had Santori on Thursday, and he was explaining to us, how the percentages of cap is what ultimately matters, and where the cap goes up, the percentage you're paying. And it sounds like, because I was talking to Santori a little bit on the side before the show too, and he was talking about that $23 million. And actually, he might have shared that from, because I want to give credit, John Sheeran, I think it might have been, that posted it. So what they paid Trey like 4 years ago was about 8% of the cap. And that $23 million number for where the cap has gone up, that $23 million now would be about 8% of the cap. So it's basically the Bengals saying, we're going to pay you what we thought you were worth 4 years ago. That don't work when a guy has 17 and a half sacks. So that's why I say the offer that is an insulting offer to me to Trey. Now, maybe there's still some room to negotiate. He's going to go see his market, see what, see if another team's willing to go 30. And and he can come back to the Bengals and say, you know what, this team's offered me $30 million a year. I would rather be here. Can you match it? Maybe they decide to match it, or maybe that team that's offering it is willing to give you. Maybe it's the Commanders, and they give you that 29th pick. So, we'll just see what happens, right? We gotta see what happens.
Well, like I say, everybody thought the door was shut. The door is not shut. It's half shut. It's half shut. And I'll tell you another thing. I don't know how much this plays into it, but when Trey did that fundraiser last night, the interview he did, you could just tell. He still says, I want to be here still. There's no other place I'd rather be. He said, look, I got to, he was saying, hey, look, I love my time here. But for him to still say there's no place I'd rather be, you can tell he still wants to make it work here. So, but, he's prepared, though, for his other options, but he still wants to make it work.
He would prefer to be here and keep his family. And that's always something, right? You got to move. You got to do this and that. You go to a new city. You got to meet new people, all new teammates, all this stuff. He's probably excited about Al Golden because Al Golden, he was probably here when Trey was first here, right? He was here.
Oh, yeah.
Because they went to the Super Bowl.
Right, I can imagine he's happy Al Golden's back. I mean,
but Naughty says, pretty happy we don't have to do the annual offseason, talk ourselves into a new tight end thing for once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
and chemistry with Joe, right? That's underrated.
Yeah.
You could say he's a receiver.
Right.
But he's still technically a tight end that you split out. There's a lot of tight ends that split out.
Right. Well, I'll put it this way. We don't have to worry about a slot receiver in the draft because we would have had to look for a slot to replace Gesicki. I mean, Gesicki.
Well, you got two studs now, two of your favorite players, him and Yoshi, that can hold down that slot together.
Yes, they can.
You love slots.
Yes, I do. I love the slot. I can slot in anywhere.
Yeah, actually, a trade I think could happen at any time, right? Because we've seen a couple guys traded already. So if they were to do a trade,
absolutely.
And that's kind of where I'm at, right? So I would like to see something happen so you have the money accounted for with Trey. I think the worst thing you could do is go into this tampering period because shit pops off quick when Monday at noon rolls around. It's not Wednesday when it really starts. It's Monday. The shit really the deals are made for a lot of the best players.
It's already probably happening.
Yeah, agents are talking. It just does.
Yeah. But Dale, like I was telling you, I think a big worry is I just don't want this to carry on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we don't have a backup plan or something. That's what my say is if you're going to do it, whatever decision you make, you got to do it now.
Because that frees up $16 million to use on another player if you're trading him. Now, if you're keeping him, okay, you've got your long-term extension. You know what that costs. You know how you've structured that contract and what the cap hit is for that. So you know what money you still got to work with for your other guys. So I would love to see either way it goes with Trey. And I prefer to keep him here, but at the same point in time, I understand maybe it's not going to work out and he's going to be traded. I hope they get good value, but then they have that money to use elsewhere, along with if we could get a T extension, that probably frees up money for this year because right now he's on the hook for 26 and it's all got to be paid on this contract this year.
And like you say, if you know you're going to get rid of Trey, that's when you start preparing. Hey, if I'm going to go after Milt Williams, if I'm going to go after, multiple free agents, you got to get prepared. I'd like to prepare for this now. And all that. Again, like you said, Dusty, the door's still open. The door is not closed. It's halfway tilted.
Let's see what they can do. And your door is always a little open when you got a Joe Burrow. Now, the biggest fear, and we've talked about it, we hate talking about it. We don't want to do it when we're being positive, but I'm just going to say you don't want to go down the path where Joe Burrow, is thinking he don't want to be here and he can't win a ring here.
Well, no. I guarantee you, if Joe Burrow didn't come out and said, if Joe didn't say, I don't care, if he didn't speak up about Gesicki, he probably wouldn't have been back here. Let's just be honest. He probably wouldn't have been back. Okay? I mean, Gesicki, to be honest with you, I'll be honest. I did not think Gesicki was going to come back. So Dale, that's a big start right there. We just needed that. We needed that push. We needed that start, that kickstart.
And I mean, if we start hearing some positive news on T. Higgins, even if it's not going to be done, today, he's flying in right now and signing it. Things don't always happen that way, but, it would be nice to say, hey, the Bengals are getting close and starting to hear more rumblings like that. That would get me even more excited.
You tell is it a coincidence? I mean, it makes you think.
It sure does, man. But I'm just, man, I like I said, it's a fun time of year. It can get very frustrating because Monday could hit and we're not seeing moves and all these good players that you think you can add. It's not a great free agency class, but there's always players you can add, and not even always the top of the market guys that are going to help your team. Like we talked about how we would have liked Becton and Tart, two guys they had in for visits to got deals done with those guys.
Becton, Dart, and Fulton. We could have had all three of those guys last year.
Yeah, if you could have got those guys, I think you would have had a lot better defense. I mean, because it was pretty bad last year. And I'm also excited because Al Golden, right? Lou did some great things here. We talked about that, but at the same point in time, change was needed. It just, whatever, the message had grown stale in the locker room. He wasn't getting the best out of his guys. He wasn't always playing these young guys enough to really develop them, even to see what they have. Because you got to play to really know what you got with some of these guys. You got to get on the field more. So, Golden sounds like a guy that's going to allow these young guys to grow and play, and you might have some growing pains, but guess what? You got to do it. Young guys aren't just going to magically get better by not getting any NFL snaps in live game action. It just doesn't happen.
No, exactly. Like I say, man, just try to make Joe happy. I mean, you look at Stephen A. Smith. He started talking yesterday. Oh, I don't blame Joe Burrow if he left Cincinnati. Just everything was just piling up. And man, I tell you, I was at a low point last night. I couldn't even almost get to sleep. I was at a low point. I was at a huge major low point. We were just I think all of us Bengals fans were just desperate. We want to hear something. And
we needed something. We needed something to perk us up.
Yeah, not like I say, I know they did make not Tanner Hudson, no offense to other signings. This is what we needed.
Jackson Kirkland and Tanner Hudson, no slander, but we needed a little something more.
Your original guess was Cody Ford. I still hope we get Cody Ford back. I want Cody Ford back, but this is a little bit more.
Yeah, I said on Twitter 3 days ago, I said if we get a signing soon, it's gonna be Cody Ford or Mike Gesicki. It seemed like the most logical ones because and that's just reading what's out there with the media people saying we weren't close with Trey and that, or Trey or T or none of the big three were close. And then obviously with Trey, then you hear the trade news like a day or two after that. So it was like, yeah, we're definitely not close. Dustin's got an interesting question here. Would you say contracts should be based on past production or future potential? And I think you answered it, and probably be my answer. It's got to be somewhere in the middle, right? Because you want to reward these guys for what they've done, but you're also not paying them thinking they'll decline or expecting a decline. And that's why the age 30 thing is tricky. And you get your Andrew Whitworth, but you also get a lot of other guys that just start regressing. I mean, even Alex Kappa, who was, I don't even know if he's hit 30 yet, but we saw him regress after the injury in 2022 or whenever it was. He was never kind of the same player.
Dale, this brings me back to the movie Mr. Deeds. Remember when he's the owner, I think it was the Jets or something, that guy rushes in and says, I want more money and all that and stuff. And he says, why do you want more? And Adam Sandler's character's like, why do you want more money? He's like, well, I figured if I play better, I should get more money. And he asks him, well, if you play bad, should we give you less money? He's like, well, shit, no. So that kind of made me think about that. And Dustin, that's a very interesting question. Yeah, especially when you get older, the older players, I mean, yeah, because you want to reward him and all that. Like the Eagles rewarded Saquon Barkley for a great contract from what he did that 1 year. But Saquon Barkley's still young. They know he has a couple of years left in him. This is a good question, Dustin. Like I say, it depends on the age. Like Dale said, you have to meet in the middle. But in this case, with Trey, if I had to put it in perspective, it has to be mainly for, okay, what am I going to get out of Trey in the future? I mean, he did well past. I admit, $16 million, that's an insult for what he's done the last 2 years. But unfortunately, man, I don't know. I mean, that's a great question.
Well, and you brought up something. Trey's been a tough, durable Iron Man, doesn't miss much time, grinds things out, plays through, when he's dinged up, that some guys I feel like would just set out. He plays and will fight through it and shows out for his team. But last night, you brought up he has had some back issues and things here and there that have flared up on him. And that is something you got to take into account, right? Especially as you get older. I mean, we all know as you get older, the body doesn't – you start getting more low.
Let's keep going. Trey has a back issue. He's had issues with this. Now, he's played through the pain. Trey is tough. He plays through the pain. But, dude, having a back issue, man, that would concern me a little bit. I mean, so you got to put that in perspective. I know that's not fair, but as a business, you have to – I mean, the thing of it is, I get what a lot of experts are saying, that you can't just it's hard to find a sack master. It's hard to find that type of production, 100%. But the age has to be a factor. If Trey was 28 years old there, we wouldn't be having this conversation, would we?
Yeah, I mean, if he'd been playing like this at 28 years old, you'd be crazy to let a guy like that walk out. No matter if you got a first-round pick, you don't trade a 28-year-old guy like that. And, I mean, I still think he's got plenty in the tank because he seems like a guy that he don't have but one – like if he's in, if he's a guy that's in, he's going to work his ass off to be that guy. And he's shown that, right? So I sent out a link here to the CEO, Dustin Crawford.
What's up, boys?
He seems a little fired up today, so I figured we'd get the CEO on here.
Dustin, how you doing, man?
And we'll get this with Scott. He says, are there any leaders that are available they could sign? Leadership is important. I agree, and we're losing a lot, right? And we're expected to lose Mike Hilton. We could lose B.J. Hill, Jermaine Pratt, who was a captain. You speak on his leadership. It seems like that could go either way. But he was a captain, which should say something. And, the DJ Readers of the world that you've lost, Jesse Bates, Von Bell ain't going to be back. And, I mean, he didn't have a great season, but leadership-wise, good player. I think more than maybe the outside guys, Scott, for me, my answer would be that it's got to be guys you already have that have been here that you want to see step up. I think Logan Wilson needs to be one of the biggest leaders on this defense. And the way Al Golden coached him at linebacker, I think he's a prime candidate to step up and just lead that room and lead the man on that side of the ball. And then you hope there's other guys, right? They are right now kind of young on that D line. Maybe does Miles Murphy start becoming a bit of a leader going into his third year here? You hope, right? He starts playing better, feeling more confident, speaking out more. That's possible. And then on offense, I mean, I know Burrow's not always the most vocal guy, but shit, he's starting to be vocal in the media. So I think he realizes, hey, it's my team, my time. I want to win a damn Super Bowl with my guys. So I think you got him. And you're still going to have Ted Karras this year. That's a huge locker room guy. So I think the guys are more on your team than the outside free agents you'd bring in or anything in the draft personally. You guys have any thoughts on that for leaders or maybe a free agent you think's a leader that's out there that would just come in? Oh, like that guy's always a leader everywhere he goes. No one pops just off the top of my head from another team.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
You went through like the list of free agents yesterday, and there was a couple quarterbacks that popped out to me. I think it would be good to probably add a veteran corner to the team to kind of, because that was the thought with Von Bell this year, and obviously production and the challenges. But I still think like that group is young still, mostly. So it'd be good to get a veteran leader from the outside. So I think like corner might be a sneaky free.
That's good. Yeah, Jordan Fuller, he's 30, and they had interest in him last year. That's a good name.
Yeah.
Dustin, I've never in my life said add another corner. I've never. So yeah, Dustin, I totally agree with you on that because, like I say, it was nothing against Newton or Ivy or anything. I just think you need that veteran presence on that team, and I'm sure you can agree. Also, factoring in Dax Hill played well at corner, but he's coming back from an ACL injury.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hear he's progressing very well, but still, you don't want to count on that. It's always good to have insurance at corner.
Sure, I love Miles Garrett Westish.
Well, you take Ivy.
Go ahead, Dustin.
You take Ivy, for example. He started to come on towards the end of the year, but he was coming from his ACL. So you got to expect, Hill to probably take half the season to ramp up, just like you will with any ACL surgery. So it'd be good to add some presence back there.
Greg, is there anybody that pops off to you on that before we move on to Travis's question?
Yeah, so are we just talking positions again? Or
just leadership, is there just
No, I tell you what, I mean, since we're getting rid of Pratt, I'd like to go out and find a linebacker out there, man. I know it's not a D class, but technically your linebacker is like your quarterback of the backfield pretty much and all that.
So what do we think of a guy like Nick Bolton from the Chiefs? Because he's still young, high draft pedigree. I don't know that he's been a great player for them.
Is he a leader? Is he a leader, though?
I don't know. I'm just tossing out that name because you mentioned linebacker, and I was thinking about him earlier.
Well, Bobby Wagner would have been perfect.
Yeah, he would have been perfect.
We knew he was going to stay in Washington because of what he's got going on there. I think we all knew. We saw that coming. He was going to stay. But yeah, Wagner would have been awesome.
I mean, Dre Greenlaw, I feel like he could be a leader if you were able to bring him in from the 49ers. And then Travis says, anyone else surprised Pratt hasn't had any traction in regards to his trade request? We've had Trey given full support to go find another team. And maybe Pratt was too. It just didn't come out publicly because, Trey Henderson was the sack leader. Sorry, Anton, had to do it. But I think he's more likely to be cut than anything. But I think for him to be cut, they'll want to sign a veteran first, would be my opinion. How about you, Dustin?
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, I think
he's also $8 million. He's owed $8 million this year. Now I don't know if a team would take that fully on. It might be closer to the 6 or whatever that we would get, if we cut him anyways. So a team might be taking on about $6 million from him, but still, he had a lot of tackles, but he also still missed a lot of tackles last year.
Yeah, and I think from an athleticism standpoint, I think there's been a little bit. It's interesting. Both our linebackers are almost like on the older side now, and
right.
I think we don't think because we always talk about running backs and their decline when they get to a certain age. Linebackers fall off really fast too. I don't think we talk about that enough. So
we got to get some youth in that room too.
Yeah.
And that's why Bolton maybe does make sense. Like Jamie and Sherwood was the guy when we went through the list, but he's one of those they talked about maybe getting 15 to 20 million a year.
Yeah. And that's why, you see so many of the linebackers are all kind of veterans on the free agent market because, there's a reason for that. So Bolton is definitely probably the youngest guy.
Yeah, Wagner's kind of a unicorn, playing at his age and playing at such a high level. Most guys don't.
Yeah, they wrapped him up, and then the Tampa Bay just extended Levante David, too.
Yeah, and that's another unicorn, 14 years or something.
Well, Dustin, so the Niners offer Kinlow a prove-it deal, which is what we were talking about. We would do. Let me ask you this: would you give Kinlow a 2-year deal because he's got upside, but he's also got injuries?
Javon Kinlaw, the D tackle.
Sorry.
Oh, good. I just making sure what you're talking about.
Man, he's still graded out pretty good, like in the short time he was there. So I would take a flyer on him for sure. If you can get him at a certain price and you have a way to get out of the contract, if that Achilles is still, if he's not moving the same, I'd be all over that. Cause I don't know, I don't know if the market for these linebackers, I'd have to go back historically speaking to see what the market has been in free agency for linebackers. I don't feel like it's one where you got to throw a lot of money at. So it could be a good value, Greg, for sure.
Yeah, but like, would you do it for a 2-year deal? Because they want to, like, it's 1 year prove it deal the Niners want to offer. Would you do it for a 2-year deal though, or something like that?
Yeah, I would if it's kind of like however you'd want to structure the contract that protects
Right.
you a little bit, but I'd be willing to do that. And then if you could ship Pratt, because we've been talking about adding, we only have 6 picks. So if we can add some picks to the draft this year, because it is obviously high in defense.
Even if Pratt got a 7th rounder or something, right?
Yeah.
It'd be better than releasing him.
I mean, with all the running backs, there's going to be a running back in the 7th round, that we could grab. So it's kind of funny. We trade for Herbert the 7th round, and then we go back and get the 7th rounder back, and then pick a running back in the 7th round. That'd be hilarious.
And then Scott asked, any thoughts on Jonathan Allen being available? He had some injuries, but a damn good player, right? I don't know what his market will be since he'll be, out there for everybody, which him being released, he could even sign now, technically.
Yeah.
But you guys have any thoughts on him? Greg, I'll start with you first this time.
Well, as I said on the show yesterday, I thought we were going to take Jonathan Allen over John Ross, and I was so relieved we took John Ross at that time. But boy, have the tables have turned over to that. Jonathan Allen, he's been dominant. When he's healthy, he's dominant. But is he interior? Is he an interior?
Yeah, he's interior D line.
Okay. I'm intrigued. I'd be intrigued, obviously. I mean, as a rotational person, why not? Just go after the quarterback. I'd be okay with that. But just with the injury issues, I'm a little apprehensive, man. But if they did sign him, I'm not going to be mad or anything.
No, he's definitely one of the more with Osa, Odigizua going back to the Cowboys is kind of Milton Williams, and I'd say he's right up there in that conversation for the next highest guy behind Williams, in my opinion, as D tackle on the market. What are your thoughts, Dustin, on him?
So he signed a 4-year 72 in 2021. His cap now did Washington just eat that cap hit because he was due, I think, 22 million and 25, or were they able to save on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at Spotrac and see the dead money, probably.
Yeah. So I don't know. It gives me because Washington's a defensive led coach. So it gives me a little kind of like hesitation. Like if I don't know, they have drafted a couple, Newton, obviously. So maybe it's just like one of those things that they're rotating out. I mean, definitely interested. It's hard to know, like, God, I mean, this is where like the town evaluation and stuff, like I think I am decent at that. But when it comes to like at putting money towards people's names, like a Jonathan Allen, that's like really tough to do. What would you pay that guy? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm just looking and I'm seeing like for him to look it up, it's not really showing anything. It looks like they've gone to a premium. So damn it, Spotrac.
How old is he, Dale?
30. That's another thing I was going to look up. So he just 30 years old, 1 month, 23 days. So he'll be 30 pretty much all season. So, I mean, yeah, it is that age, though, right? The same thing we're talking about.
We're trying to shift out of that whole age thing and all that. So, I don't know. But no, so, Dustin, before we got on, we were talking about Trey Hendrickson. You asked that very interesting question. What is your take on the whole Trey thing, just in general?
And Greg, Jared wants you to take your shirt off. I mean, we did sign Mike Gesicki.
All right. Hey, Jared, I didn't see you in the chat recently. All for you, Jared. All nothing but love for old Jared.
Soak it in, baby.
The question we got to ask now, Greg, is Dale a Gesicki slurper now? Because he wasn't last year.
You know what, Dale? Were you ever really sold on? You know I was. You knew me and Joe were. I think you were in the Slurpee club.
I felt like I came around about halfway through the season. He had some big ass games for us when T was out. So yeah, I think I became a mini slurper. I'm not an elite slurper like Joe and Greg, but
I get one of those big gulp Slurpees, man. I will go there and gulp it all up, slurp it up, man.
But anyways, you asked Dustin something before we just went into chaos with your naked, sexy
sorry
body.
About that, Dustin.
And you got a lot of guys in the chat excited, Greg. Like Naughty says, nice tits.
But Dustin, I want to hear your take on the whole Trey Hendrickson situation.
I mean, I am like, I think being so kind of in tune with the draft, and he had 17.5 sacks last year, right? Our defense still stunk. To me, that points towards, I think we're gonna have some better coaching in place and some guys come along from a development standpoint, but we're missing so many pieces. So I'm more of the camp like, let's see what we can get in terms of assets. Because I was thinking, you mentioned it, if we could come back and draft like a Grant, get a high second, and just go back to the board, draft another pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
You've just added two top 50 pass rushers to your team. And then maybe Miles Murphy comes along and they bump him back to right end, which was his natural position in college. And then, you can come back in our 49, maybe pick a Xavier Watts, pick a guard, something like that. I just feel like there's so many holes that we could seal up with using the assets that we have, from a trade.
I guess you could say also, Dustin, if you were to trade, this would kind of be the time to do it, because I think Dale's here. This is like Dale, you said, it's a loaded defensive end class. So this would be, if this was a bad defensive end class, I'd be even more hesitant to do it. But at least you have the option of looking into that at least.
Yeah. And I think as we move forward, we're going to face this situation again with another player, right? Like, we're just going to have to probably get comfortable with the players that we love. Probably trying to, because I was, texting with Dale yesterday. I almost would treat my NFL team like a college program where you kind of lock in on players for 3 to 4 years. And then obviously your blue chippers, you want to kind of keep around. And I think like you would say, yeah, definitely Trey's a blue chipper, but the age is just like, man, when you look at the data, the statistics, since we have so much access to that these days, it doesn't paint a pretty picture. So I don't know.
Well, no, Dustin, to your point, Tyler Boyd, like a friend of mine was saying, Tyler Boyd's going to be gone here. No, he's not. I'm like, but when you really think about it, yeah, he is. He is going to be gone. And like, you never think about that. But like his last year here, he was just on the decline. It was like, you never would think that, but it happens. It happens right before you know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you get into like the science of like the human body and why that happens. I mean, it's a whole thing, but I mean, it happens. I mean, dude, I love Trey. If he came back, I wouldn't like be mad about it. But I also think it's a time that you can really kind of sell high, and turn those into assets. I mean, look, what did Kansas City get for Tyreek Hill?
Like,
I don't remember. Did they get a
couple first? I think, didn't they? Here, I'd have to look. Now you got me looking that up now.
Yeah, and then what they were able to flip that into, probably some volume of players that were very impactful.
Right.
So it's tough. I mean, because I love Blackout Trey, his hustle, his relentless. He's a maniac.
I
guess things could be worse for the Bengals right now. While Greg's looking that up. Xavier Worthy arrested on the felony domestic charge today.
Yeah,
so between Rashee Rice and him, they're high draft picks, guys that they're counting on, sure are screwing up quite a bit. Now his lawyer released a statement saying infidelity, and she was told to vacate for 2 weeks. I don't know. And lawyers, obviously, their job is to defend their client. So saying that she attacked him, but he didn't want to press charges on her, he got arrested for some reason. So, we'll see what comes with that, but that could end up pretty bad for them. And it's never what you want to be in the news for in the offseason.
So what Miami got in return, a second round pick, 2 fourth-round picks, and a 2023 sixth-round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a young man's game, man. Like it just is. Like,
but I admire the Bengals. Like, you can agree with this also, Dustin. I admire the Bengals are like, look, we're not just going to give him away. It has to be a premium pick, and that's what I do. So, in someone was talking to Malik on Twitter saying maybe this is a way for the Bengals to look into it. It's like, hey, maybe if this is what it's offering, maybe we up our offer a little bit. But $23 million. I mean, at first when I heard like 32, I'm like, that's the reason. I'm like, they couldn't come to something close. But when you saw Malik's tweet, Michael Jordan, first of all, like, oh, it's getting close, but it's like, no, that's what he was offered, 23. I'm like, well, no wonder it came down to this. So,
yeah. You kind of wonder if like maybe that was a strategy, like, come in at 23, actually kind of push him towards, because like we've been having this challenge with Trey for 2 years now. He actually, I don't think it was ever going to happen, but he actually threatened retirement last year, so it's kind of like, the conversations with him have kind of been odd in a way. So I kind of wonder strategically, like, hey, let's put this offer out here, see what he can get in the open market. And then if we can get like a very high draft pick, and it could be a win-win because, okay, let's say he hits the market, he doesn't like what he sees, and he ends up back at a number that maybe the Bengals are like, okay, we'll add $4 more million to make it 27 or 28. Then they kind of win, you know? So I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but just kind of thinking maybe strategically they purposely did that.
And also I want to get that because like Crosby, you know, everybody free that you just see that first number. It's like 35 a year, but when you factor in the years he already had and stuff with his extension, that number came down quite a bit. I feel like closer to like the actual average annual value with what he already had was going to be closer to 30 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it certainly isn't going to be 35 average annual value.
Yeah. So I think there's wiggle room there. Like, yeah, I still think there's an opportunity he definitely comes back, but I almost look at it as a win-win. Hey, you get a 17.5 sack guy back at maybe a little less than 30, or you turn it into a premium draft pick and you can add more pass rushers to your team.
Yeah.
So,
now we got to draft well, and we don't always do, but at some point, you know, you do have to hope that you hit on some of these guys.
Well,
yeah.
And by the way, poor Chop, I didn't mean to steal. Yes, you did talk about it also. Yes, go to the show, Chop. I just want to give Chop his flowers right there also. But this kind of came to my mind. Remember when Dallas got criticized for trading Herschel Walker? I'm not really comparing trading to Herschel Walker. Everybody thought Dallas was crazy for doing that, and look what happened. They got a bunch of draft picks in return. But the thing is, Dallas knows how to draft well, pretty much, and all that. I mean, the Bengals last couple of years have had issues and all that, but you kind of got to think, man. I mean, maybe do you really just want that one good player on your team, or do you want to have, you know, turn that into a couple of other players and freeze up money to sign? That has crossed my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our like Super Bowl run in our AFC Championship, it was actually we were getting applauded as an organization because we were able to like draft or sign players, like multiple free agents for like the price of like one premium free agent, right? So we were actually applauded for that. Now, obviously, the free agency hasn't worked out. Maybe the last couple of years. I mean, Gesicki aside, but I do think like when you look at our teams from that 2-year run, we were pretty well rounded for the most part. Now, offensive line kind of fell apart. Obviously, the first year, the Super Bowl run,
kind of, yeah,
but it was a well rounded team. Like if you think the way that we were able to go through those playoff runs is because we had multiple players making multiple plays, you know, like Cam Taylor-Britt, Hilton come off the edge hitting Josh Allen, that kind of thing. So, you know, I think you still are going to have points of strength on your team, but you want it to be rounded out as much as possible.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. You're right. And I, you know what, even though he didn't play much, I think his name was like Christian Johnson or something, had that huge tackle on a 2-point conversion. I mean, even just a player like that coming in, maybe it doesn't even have to be a big name player. Like have multiple players that can come in, just make that one big play. If you have, and we just don't see that anymore. You're lucky to see it every once in a while. We just don't see that anymore. No, so I totally get what you're saying right there, Dustin. Absolutely.
Now, how are you on this Plain Watch 2025? T. Higgins, is he coming here and getting this contract done, or what's going on? Are you a Plain Watch kind of guy? Because I said I have fond memories of LeBron Plain Watch when he came back to Cleveland and left Miami.
Dude, it's so fun. Let's just have fun with it. You know, like we didn't have these tools 15 years ago. Hell, we probably weren't even having conversations about player contracts that much a long time ago. So I think people get a little too serious, you know, like let's have a little fun. And then like, yeah, let's track the plane. Where is he at? Somebody go bring him, like, what's his favorite place to eat in Cincinnati? Go drop it off when his plane lands. No, I'm all over it, dude. I'm like,
no, let's have. I mean, me and Dale were talking, like, we're just tired of being impressed. And that right after Dale we were acting like this. That's what Gesicki said. So we got to keep this going.
Yeah.
I think he's in Cincinnati now. So any minute we're just going to hear that extension.
Well,
right? Why not?
And Jamar, he's here for a card show. So who knows? So Dustin, what would your reaction be if you found out both? I don't think it's going to happen, but both T and Jamar sign at the same time.
I think it could be. I mean, it probably not, but it could be. I mean, they got the same agent, right?
Right.
Like,
it would make sense.
Yeah, that would be so sick. Like they put all three of those guys up on a press conference Oh my God.
Remember
And I
when
said you might as well have
LeBron-
Burrow there, just grinning from ear to ear.
All right.
You know?
This is where Dale's probably going to hate me because Dale's a Cavs fan, but I tell you what, man, I endorse LeBron going to Miami with Bosh Wade.
Oh,
remember when there was that press conference and they came up above and all that? Oh, man.
I hated that so
I'm sorry,
much.
Dale. I was a fan of LeBron going to the Heat. I'm sorry. But I mean, I was a fan when he went in Cleveland, but I actually was endorsing that.
Hey, he came back. He won a title, so I will always have that. That was phenomenal.
You know what was funny is LeBron embraced the villain. Like before that, he was like really well liked. And it's almost since like he went to the Heat, he's been like the villain. Now in Cleveland, like you said, he came back and won the title, and that was awesome. But
now he's trying to fight Stephen A. Smith.
Did you guys see? I don't know if you guys are Curb Your Enthusiasm fans. Larry David was sitting right there, like right next to him.
No, I don't watch it, but I know Larry David is. But no,
I've seen it some, but I see clips more than anything, and they're always fucking hilarious.
So there was a Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry David is tying his shoe because he's courtside and he trips one of the players and they get injured. So it's kind of, somebody was like, "Oh, of course Larry David is there when LeBron is sparking up some stuff with Stephen A. Smith." Yeah.
All right, Dustin, on the show yesterday, we talked a lot about just calling our shots with free agents. So we'll just go down the path that, let's say, Trey is traded. So that opens up even more money. And maybe it gets us a higher tier somewhere on the defense specifically, or maybe at guard, wherever, right? So call your shot. Who is like a surprise kind of free agent or a bigger name free agent you think the Bengals could come away with here starting early this week?
Oh, I could see them making a big splash with the Milton Williams. I really could. I just there's something about so when we signed Reeder and Hendrickson, I don't know if people remember, but we actually I think we might have signed them at prices that people maybe had thought was a little too high.
Yeah, Reeder, I remember. It's kind of surprised us all.
I thought Trey was a panic signing because of losing what's his name?
Carl
Lawson. Yeah. So I could see them playing the game of outbidding for a premium defensive player. I mean, especially again, if Trey leaves, what's again, that's $16 million in cap savings. You know,
I've allowed myself to actually believe in the Milton Williams thing happening because of the potential of losing Trey.
Yes. It does. I think you're right. We lose Trey, you go all in on Milt Williams, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you get a guy like that, I really do think Kenneth Grant.
Yes.
And I know not everybody loves him, but he's such a good run defender. And that pairing, would be trying to emulate what you saw Milton Williams paired up with the Eagles. He's not Jalen Carter. He's not. Right. Not right now.
No, not right now.
Kenneth Grant's still 21 years old. So I just think he's a young guy with tons of athleticism and tons of upside. And at minimum, you're getting a stud to come in as a run defender right away to pair with Milton Williams as the pass rush guy. I like that because interior pass rush is very important in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
And Dustin, I'm sure I don't know what you thought, Trey Hendrickson, but at first I'm like, oh, wow, he had 13 and a half sacks. But when you look at some of his sacks, I'm like, well, that's because Cam Jordan was rushing from the other side. So I didn't know what to think about this. Like I said, I thought it was a panic signing because we lost Lawson, but turns out it worked really well. And like Dale was just discussing with Milt Williams, kind of the same deal because he was in such a good rotation. So maybe I say and I'm like, hey, we thought the same thing with Trey. Why not give it a shot with Milt Williams also?
Yeah. And I actually think sometimes maybe people look at that as a negative because you have others across the defense line. Part of me, it's maybe look at it as a positive because you're used to playing with players that are high caliber and you can play off of each other, right? With either as twist or something like that. I think
you learn from those good players too that you're playing with.
Exactly. So I'd almost look at it as a positive because those players are used to playing around really good players. So they're going to probably demand that out of their, counterparts as well. So I'm all over it. I dig it.
That's my vision. My vision now is Kenneth Grant. We're trading Trey. We're getting pick 29. Come on, Commanders, pony it up. And Commanders have $80 million in cap space. So they've got plenty of money to extend him, and they said they could easily get to 100. I was seeing some of their fans talking about. So I could see that being a trade match. And I was telling Greg, like, they have Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract. That's when a team like that should be pushing for, star other players and spending money on some big time talents.
Look at the Texans. When they had that good year with Stroud, they're like, we're loading up. They gave Joe Mixon a contract I thought he was never going to get. They were loading up on everybody. And that's what Washington's probably going to be doing right now.
Yeah, and they already went out and got Debo. Yeah, Debo Samuel already. So to pair with Terry McLaurin. So I like what Washington's got going on there. And when you got the quarterback, you want to surround him with good players on both sides of the ball. So if we're going to lose Trey, I think it makes sense for them, because I didn't think we'd get a first. And maybe you still don't. Maybe it's a second and a future third or fourth. Who knows? But if you could pick 29 as close to a second is why I think that one makes sense.
Well, if we got like an early second, like say if it was 38, 39, and another fourth, I'll still be okay with that. You still could, like we were just talking, it's a loaded defensive end class. There's still going to be a great player there, possibly a defensive end in second round. So that's why I would feel a little bit, I still want to keep Trey, but I would feel a little bit more comfortable doing it this time of year with the loaded class.
Yeah, and Travis, I don't disagree. Like on my board, I have Nolan over Grant. I like Nolan better than Grant, but there's also, you hear some of the character type stuff about him too, like James Pierce. So I'm just saying, if you got a Milton Williams, I think pairing him with Grant would be a good pairing. And then you, like I said, if you could get a James Pierce at 29, even like, I think Shamar Stewart's going to go early, but I haven't always been a huge fan of him with the production wise. But athletic freak, if he's there at 29, I feel more comfortable taking a player like him there because I have him 28th on my board. I didn't like the thought of taking him at 17. I mean, Dustin probably even get a boner if we took a guy like Landon Jackson at 29 in that trade scenario.
That was like, I love him, but obviously I'm being a little facetious with
second round too. I think would be best for him. But.
Yeah. What would you guys? Because I know that like I could see the team like the Falcons being interested.
Yeah.
Or maybe they express interest in Trey. What would be too low of a second round pick for you guys? So I think the Falcons have the 46.
Yeah, that's probably it. I don't think I'd want to go lower. And people's talked about the Bears because they have 2 second rounders that would be a little higher than that. So that's another team that has made sense. Paul Daner talked about it. Daniel Alameda talked about them on here as a good trade partner. So yeah, but I think the Falcons, because they're another team that's reportedly interested, I think their second would probably be the bottom. I'd want the Bears or them, and then I'd want something either fourth rounder, fifth rounder this year, or like a third or fourth next year. One or the other to pair with a second.
What number are the Bears picking with their 2 picks second round? I'm just curious.
I don't know off the top of my head, Greg. I think it's early 40s maybe for both of them.
Okay,
so I can try to look up the draft order
around there with the Falcons. Okay, yeah, no, I'd be okay with it, but I want an extra 4th round pick or something in return. I don't know if would they do that though? Is the question.
Somebody brought up a good point. Let's say Trey played this year.
They have 39 and 41. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The Bears do.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
Because they're still getting stuff for trading. I think because it's the Panthers with the 39. So I think that's still from Bryce Young trade.
Right.
I think we can agree. If they said we'll give you both 39, 41, yeah, I'd run up to that.
I don't think you get them both. I mean, them having two picks there, and I don't know that somebody don't have a lot of the Falcons only have 4 picks. So if you got the Falcons second rounder, it's probably definitely your other one would have to be the following year with the Falcons.
Yeah. Somebody brought up a good point. I think a future pick for Trey is fine too, because let's say we let him walk to free agency after this year. We would get I think a compensatory 3rd round pick next year, right?
Well, those you just never know, right? Because it depends. Yeah. It can offset with guys if you sign a top market guy compared to what you lost.
Yeah, that's true.
That always all factors in because we didn't know that we were going to get one for Jesse Bates. Remember, in the first formula had us getting like a 5th, and then they redid it. They messed up, and we got the 3rd. Which what was that? We just now used it, right?
Kid on Twitter that did that reformulated it.
Who did?
Yes. Yeah, dude that always is all over the comp picks is like, no, you did this wrong, NFL.
Yeah.
That's saying
that guy's a star.
He got famous. Hey, good for him for pointing that out. And we thank him for doing that.
we're gonna start a GoFund Us campaign to slip some money in his pocket for all these free agents to just tell the NFL that they're wrong, so they keep sliding us picks.
Absolutely. All right, we're about an hour in, so we'll end this one. And you never know. I mean, if we hear that T news, we might have to come back on at some point.
Hey,
but
Dustin,
anything else?
Be on the call, Dustin. You got to be on call, buddy. You're on call right now.
Yeah. You know who I love on Twitter too, who's pretty funny? Tyler Eifert. He put like some eyeball emojis. I love how involved he is, and like,
oh yeah,
elite troll, right? He's just ready to troll all day.
Yeah, he definitely has fun trolling for sure.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
beautiful.
I don't think they would even consider Pratt for Quentin Nelson, Tom. But we did talk about if they were willing to give up Quentin Nelson and a second or third round pick from the Colts for Trey, because then you pair Trey back. And hell, I'll give them Pratt and Trey if they're going to give me a second rounder and Quentin Nelson, to be honest, because I'm just tossing Pratt in. I don't think his market's that high personally, Tom. I think if anything, he might end up getting released. But like I said, I'd take a 6th, 7th rounder for him. But I do like Quentin Nelson. I like the idea of getting an elite left guard in here because we haven't had good guard play. And that's why Kappa's released and Volson was benched and had to come back in because of injuries. But I definitely think they're you trying to tell us something, Chop? You got breaking news?
I was going to say, what the hell, Chop? But no, Dale, I would trade both Pratt and Hendrickson for Nelson straight up.
Yeah, overzealous. I definitely have those concerns too. That we'll trade Henderson, and we'll just be always trying to find edge players. And I wish we felt better about Myles Murphy at the moment, right? Because he hadn't really played a ton. The sack production hasn't been there when he has played. I still really liked him coming out, so I have not given up on him by any means. He was always going to need development. It was one of the things when we drafted him that I said, he's 21, he's going to have to be developed. How well have we developed him? I don't think we really know yet. And you're hoping with new coaching, maybe it's developed more and we get something out of him because he was a first-round pick for a reason.
Yeah, it's something to consider. We're not going to replace Trey Hendrickson's sack.
Nope.
But if you look at the stats for the Eagles defensive line, their leading sacker last year had 8 sacks. So it's like there's strength in numbers there because you're getting pressure from all ends. So just kind of something to consider as we throw bodies at this. Like you're probably not going to get a double-digit sack guy, but you could have guys get around that 8 to 10. So
yeah, I mean, maybe you bring in, like we talked about Milton Williams. Maybe you also bring in a Chase Young, and I'm not saying he's phenomenal, but maybe he gets you 5, 6 sacks. Maybe Milton gets you 7 or 8. Something like that. And then you also maybe you drafted James Pierce with that pick and he gets you 6 or 7. Myles Murphy has a little bit of a breakout. He gets you 5 or 6. So you're just hoping to get more guys to replace the production because we didn't have anybody getting sack productions beside Trey was a big problem here.
You know what? So, Dust, I want to get your take on this. Joe Goodberry's Moneyball thing. That was brilliant. I mean, first I'm like, I don't know if this is bad or not. But no, it was brilliant. I liked how it was all set up perfectly. And I kind of agree with that in a way. We can't replace Trey, but we can get a couple of other players to fill in for what he did. And that is still intrigues me in some aspects.
Yeah, you got to think, like, if you think from a game plan perspective, like, if you only have one guy getting that many sacks, it's pretty easy for offensive coordinators to game plan. There were games, like I was at the Eagles game in Cincinnati, and Trey just got completely shut down. But we had no other pass rush from some other areas, so it's like, when you have numbers like that, it just makes the offensive coordinator's head spin because they don't know where to dedicate resources. So
yeah, that's what we're saying, strangers. So go watch the Joe Goodberry video, just like Moneyball, where that was so funny. We're going to replace the sacks in the aggregate. That's what we're going to do. Okay.
Yeah, boy. Wait, Jalen Carter only had 4.5 sacks last year. That's kind of wild.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, his pressure numbers were probably insane, though.
Yeah, which was another point, that Scott was saying there was, pressures are more important, honestly, than a lot of times in sacks. Now, you want to see guys get home, but at the same point in time, if you're getting pressure, you're causing problems. The quarterback's getting the ball out fast, throwing it away, disrupting plays. It doesn't always have to end in a sack. You're causing disruption. You're keeping that quarterback on their toes. And you're just getting after guys. That's what you want to see. So I agree, man. Yeah, and Scott, I don't disagree with that either. Pressure up the middle. more efficient and dominant guys from the interior. Aaron Donald, when we had Geno Atkins, I mean, they can wreck game plans the same as the guy off the edge, if not more, because boom, they're right in your face right off the bat.
Yeah, muddy in that interior of that pocket. Anytime you see a quarterback get happy feet, let's be honest, Burrow game 1, game 2 of every season, his feet's a little happy, So
and hopefully plays a little more in preseason. He has a healthy preseason, knock on your boner. You still got Greg from signing Gesicki there to make sure we're good. Don't want to jinx that. But yeah, a healthy Burrow, so maybe he won't have, and that's important not to have a slow start. But, I'm going to remain optimistic right now. Okay. We're going to be optimistic, and we're going to see some good things happen, right? We got money to spend. Let's spend it. Let's keep our franchised quarterback, Joe Burrow, happy, and let's make some big moves. And let's get back in them playoffs and call some fucking noise, boys.
Yeah, man.
Our buddy Matt here. Here we go.
T watch.
Tea time.
What kind of meal do you think was on T's playing today? I need a meal update, because if he's eating Greg, if he's eating a nice ribeye, I know you like ribeyes.
Yeah, I do.
That tells me he got paid.
Remember when Joe Burrow hosted the linemen over, and it was a crackers and cupcakes? Everybody went off on that. You like buying crackers and cupcakes. No, it has to be a ribeye. It has to be a ribeye or chicken.
Yeah, I could see, that's the cool thing about Burrow. I think he's kind of awkward. I could see like it being kind of funny. Like you show up and Burrow just puts out some crackers and cupcakes. That's pretty hilarious. Actually,
you're right. I could totally see that happening. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
That's a good point too, Avazellas. I mean, Trey has done it without all that pressure up the middle, helping him out a lot. So it's been impressive, because the defense around him the last couple of years has not been great. Yeah. But Sandustries, you're right. We got to let Greg get back to it. Because like we showed earlier, man, he's got to get back to the dungeon. That boner ain't gonna fucking go down on its own. He's got to go handle business and get.
Never thought it would come to that, but hey, more power to. Hey, if that helps get T-side, let's keep it going.
Yeah,
Greg has a top-notch beard. Like your beard is just
and he trimmed that up lately, and I like the scruff, but man, it grows so quick. This guy didn't even know what he was missing, by not growing one for so long. And
a coworker of mine gave me a trimmer. I'm like, man, I was apprehensive because I was having my barber doing it, but I'm like, you know what? I'll give this a try. It was more like 5 o'clock shadow I got, but it grows back quickly, man. So.
And even sexier right now, Greg. It's like a perfect spot right now where I just want to jump through the screen and take you right.
Well, I like to think of myself like as an 80s action hero and all that and stuff with the sunglasses and the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah. The sunglasses are key. They're key. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, Dustin, I got commented one time, take off the sunglasses. I'm like, they're staying. I wear the sunglasses because I have a light up here. It was just so I just couldn't take it. So I'm like, screw it, I'm popping on the sunglasses.
Yeah, sorry about my light back here.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, you're good, man. So Naughty thinks T's getting 31 million. I'm maybe right, because I think around that 30. I'd love to keep it around 28, but shit, you can't. They know they got to shit or get off the pot here, especially if they are going to trade Trey. They want to keep Burrow happy.
Are you guys? What I'm excited to see this T contract specifically is what the guaranteed money is going to be, because I think that would be kind of an indicator of what do you think the guaranteed money for T's contract is going to be?
So what are we thinking? If he's getting 31, what? That maybe it's and it's 3 years. We'll just say 3.
Now,
so we're putting it at 9.
It would be a 4-year deal because it would add on to this year, right?
Well, we'll just say 3-year. No, I don't know. It depends how they want to do it, honestly. I think you can do it either way, but we'll just say $93 million, right? So then guaranteed money, what he would probably want is probably about 40 or 50 is my guess, but the Bengals don't like to give guaranteed money. So
our buddy Matt here says $62 million guaranteed. That might be about right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was thinking around that number too, of guaranteed money. So what's that, over 80% of the contract? 60%, 70%? I don't know. We'll see,
It's the
man.
weekend, man. I ain't doing math right now.
Yeah.
I still got a fucking hangover. I slept 2 hours last night. I fucking went too hard on that rub, boys.
I just hope it gets done. Whatever it is I'm just so glad he does not have Mulligan anymore. That's all I care about.
Yeah, it'd be funny if we signed Osai because he's with Mulligan.
Yeah, exactly.
Have we signed any free agents that's been Mulligan or done any deals with him at all?
I honestly don't
think
know.
so.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one that stands out, but I feel like this became a bigger deal with Jesse Bates. So how long's he been around? You know what I mean? I honestly don't know for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see the future of these guaranteed contracts, though, too. 4, 5, 6 years from now, they might start to cool off on,
or they're going to get higher and they're going to be almost fully guaranteed. Like, it can go either way.
Yeah. I don't think the owners are too crazy about that, but, it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, but if that happens and they're fully guaranteed, you're going to start seeing a lot less 3, 4, 5 year deals and a lot more 2-year deals because teams are going to want to, minimize their risk on giving a guy a fully. I'm not saying that it will happen. I'm just saying if that would, that's the downside. Teams aren't going to want to give you these 3, 4, 5 year deals, guys.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 2 to 3 year deals. I really am. Yeah. I think that's you get players in their prime. And let's be honest, in the NFL, you have a window of X amount of years that you're going to produce premium numbers, stats, performance, and then it starts to trickle off. So if you can get a player around T's age, Chase's age, get them while they're in their prime, I think that's good business,
Tom, I don't think that Burrow will restructure now. I think that's something you could do later. And I'm only saying that because Duke Tobin's comments, right? He said that wasn't something they thought they needed to do right now. So for that reason, I don't think they will. We'll do it this year. He's offered, he's said he's willing to do it, but I don't think the Bengals want to go down that road yet because you're kicking the can down the road when you do that, right? The money doesn't. You're restructuring it. You're just adding it on to later, and then the Bengals they don't like to get in cap hell or whatever in future years. They're very risk averse when it comes to how they do things with the cap, which is why you see lower guaranteed money too. And that's just how they operate. They need to probably not do that as much and use void years and different things, but that's another conversation for another time. And I'm positive Dale today.
Positive Dale. Hey. OD. Optimistic Dale. We'll call him OD.
Yeah, I'm gonna overdose.
It will be interesting. 3 big guaranteed contracts, right? If we think about it, T, Burrow, and then Chase. It's going to be interesting to see how this front office evolves around that, right? Moving into the future, because this is probably uncharted territory for them.
Yeah.
They're going to be learning new stuff in the ways that they're going to have to do contracts or draft or whatever. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I actually think the contract stuff, it's hard. But the real work begins when we sign these guys, because that's when we actually have to start being very, very good in the draft, very strategic with free agents, etc. So
yeah, if you would, and that's the thing, Osai being a 3rd rounder would have been a lot easier to extend him had you seen more from him. Maybe it doesn't happen because Mulligan at that point either. But him, Miles Murphy, if these guys you feel a little better if you had to lose the Trey Hendrickson this offseason, if you had seen more from those guys.
Yeah. And I that's why I'm really excited about the coaching changes that we made this year. We've added to the staff. Actually, we've added more resources. So I'm very excited to have a change in the coaching staff. I really am a big fan of Al Golden. So I'm excited and stoked to see what he gets out of those guys.
Me too. We're excited and we're optimistic and we're positive today. Get back to me on Monday because the show will be about 3.5 hours after free agency has started. If we haven't made any moves, I'll probably be on here being a pessimistic asshole again.
I have a feeling we may have another show before Monday. I don't know anything.
Greg's an insider. Greg's going to be insider when he goes down to that sex dungeon.
We'll see.
Are you going to make her wear a Mike Gesicki mask?
Yeah, hey, why not, right?
Hell yeah, brother.
Oh, yeah. Look, when you sign Milton Williams, I'm having my girl put on a.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
that
dude,
too,
trust
man.
me.
Tom, I'm excited about the O-line change, because we were talking about the
Yeah.
defense. But yeah, we got a new O-line coach. I think it's time for that. You want to see more development there.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think the trend is going up. We just got to get through these rough periods. You know, we gotta be a little bit uncomfortable with this Trey situation. I mean, we all crashed out. Was like, I'm one of them. But then I'm also like, okay, let's take a different angle on this, a different perspective, kind of thing. Like, I don't know. Some people are like, just move the team, and Burrow's gonna. It's like, you know, we gotta. It's easy to be reactionary. I totally get it, especially with this team. But
Yeah.
you know, when you kind of let time go by, take a step back, things kind of level out. So I don't know. I'll get off my high horse though, because people are allowed to fan however they want. If you want to go
That's true.
graffiti, if you want to go
Absolutely.
graffiti the stadium in anger or fly a plane over the stadium, go for it. Whatever you want to do.
If you want to put a flaming bag of shit on Mike Brown's doorstep and ring the doorbell and run away, I mean, that's your choice. You might go to jail for it, but
Yeah, I'm not bailing you out. Whoever does that, I'm not bailing you out. But go big.
It's funny that somebody did an interview with, I think it was Bengals Jim, with like Duke after a draft a couple years ago, and he was like out on his patio. I was like,
Yeah,
damn, it just looks like he lives in a regular neighborhood. One of his neighbors, like, hey,
one of his neighbors just said, "Hey, Duke."
Yeah, hey Duke, don't draft Shamir Stewart, please, bro. Draft Walter Nolan or
Tommy
Dale.
Boy is an elite movie that Greg had not seen till a few years ago, and we told
Oh
him to
my
watch
God.
it. And it was just shocking that he hadn't seen it. And then he's like, "Oh, that was a really good movie." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, Greg." So I told you to
No
watch
shit.
it. All right, guys, man, you guys are awesome for tuning in with us. Another pop-up show. There's probably going to be a lot of them this week. To be on, well, we're hoping, right? We're actually hoping to have to come on here a lot and talk Bengals, because that means we got stuff going on and it's exciting
Right.
time of the year. So
Tampering, baby.
hell yeah, we're gonna tamper the hell out of this bitch come Monday, baby.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna tamper it
I
so
live,
hard.
I live 5 minutes away from the Kenwood Mall, so I'll be on the lookout.
We'll have Greg at the Kenwood Mall, boys. The shit's going down. We were about to send Greg to the airport earlier, when the plane tracking was going on.
Yeah, no, Dale, should I tell everybody what my secret name was going to be?
But it's a secret.
I can't tell you. That's right.
Yeah.
Is Lionel Collins now working at the Kenwood Mall?
Oh shit.
Hey, who knows?
That's mean.
It's like, damn. That's
He fell off. He's passing out samples at PF or at the Panda Express.
Oh, damn. All right, guys, man. You guys are awesome. And at worst, we'll be back Monday, a couple days from now. And shit, free agency will have kicked off. So I could be on here and be smiling, or I could be on here like, I hate everything. This sucks. We shall see. You never know.
We'll
Maybe a little bipolar this week.
Oh man, football makes you bipolar. It just does. All of us. We're all guilty. We're all guilty.
It is true. But man, you guys are awesome, Brew Crew. Absolutely love you all. And Houday, man.